going to talk about some Irish coffees, specifically using Teeling Irish Whiskey and some very premium ingredients that we've put together for you today. My name is Matthew Connor. I am the brand ambassador for Teeling Whiskey here in Boston, Massachusetts. So Teeling is actually great for an Irish coffee. We're using our small batch here, and it's a blended Irish whiskey, but it's aged in ex-bourbon barrels and then finished in rum casks for about a year. So you get this really kind of nuanced flavor, a little bit more of like a fruity characteristic, some rum raisin in there, a little bit of nice vanilla notes. And it's 46% ABV, so it holds up pretty well in a coffee cocktail. Like, you still get the flavors of the whiskey that we're looking for in the Irish coffee. Well, it's great for any time of day. Honestly, it's a great brunch cocktail. It's great for after work, and it's a great after dinner drink. And it works really well for that because you get a little bit of sweetness from it, but it has this really nice kind of like chocolatey notes to the Irish coffee itself. So usually you'll end up getting some berry notes. It depends on what coffee you're using, really. But we generally try to go towards a medium roast that has kind of chocolatey notes and a little bit of like a raisin or dried fruit note to it. What you really need to do is shake your cream really hard, and it needs to be super cold for it to stay on top and float above the coffee so that it doesn't actually incorporate into the drink itself. So you just need to do a few second, like, quick hard shake to kind of add some air bubbles to it and make it a little bit lighter and fluffier to sit on top of the coffee itself. If you overly do it, it's going to get too much like a whipped cream, and you're looking for that cream consistency still, just with a little bit of aeration in there. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with an Irish coffee glass here. And I like to add some hot water to it just so that it's called charging the glass, but it really heats up the glass. So when you get it, it's going to be nice and hot. There we go. So we're going to let this sit here for a couple of minutes while we get everything else ready. We have our coffee pre-brewed over here for you. You can actually brew the coffee however you have any brewing equipment. It really depends on what you have at home. Generally, I would use just a drip coffee brewer like a Fetco or something like that. At my house, I use a Chemex, but you can really use anything that you want to. You can use a French press. The only thing that I would recommend not doing is like something called an AeroPress or using espresso, just because it completely alters the flavor of the coffee itself and the drink at the end of the day. So the next step is we're going to dump this hot water. So you have your hot glass here. We're going to take some Demerara syrup. It's a ½ ounce of Demerara syrup. Add that. Then we're going to add an 1.5 ounces of Teeling Irish Whiskey. And then on top of that, we're going to add 4 ounces of the coffee. So when I use these glasses, I can measure that just right up to the top of that Teeling logo there. So there you have that. And those are the basic ingredients for the actual Irish coffee itself, right? So we're going to do a quick stir just to incorporate everything. And then we're going to take our heavy cream. The higher quality cream, the better. This is my favorite heavy cream to use, honestly. I use this at home all the time. It's called Organic Valley, but anything that's like a high quality heavy cream will be ideal for this. The fat content has to be fairly high for it to actually shake up well. And then we're going to take our cocktail shaker, add our cream, and then we just shake it up. Probably about 10 seconds shake, maybe a little bit less than that. You're going to see this really nice creamy consistency, but not whipped cream. And then in order to float it on top, we just take a spoon, Put it right on top of the liquid there, and I pour it right over the top there. And then to finish this drink off, we're going to take some fresh grated nutmeg and just put it right on top. And there you have it. Teeling Irish coffee. So generally with these, you want a clear glass so that you can actually see the separation there and how it's not, you see how it's not incorporating into the drink really. That's what kind of makes it an Irish coffee, like a classic Irish coffee. You could use, honestly, like a hot toddy style glass. You could even use a wine glass. The only thing is with things like that, you just need to make sure that they're not gonna, they're like a high quality wine glass so that it won't break in from the heat. But yeah, you could use literally anything, honestly. I mean, I've made them in mugs before, but if you wanted it to look like this, then you would have to use a clear glass. Because you can't really change the cocktail too much, it would really take away from the actual cocktail itself. Sometimes what I'll do is, if I don't have any Demerara sugar at home, I'll make like a simple syrup and I'll add some spices to it. So you could add some cinnamon or some clove or some nutmeg, things like that, to your simple syrup itself. But generally, I would say Demerara syrup is the best just because it has that kind of richness to it, and it really adds to the richness of the coffee itself. But you can use simple syrup, absolutely. Oh yeah, so basically, I can demonstrate a little bit on this glass right here. So essentially, what you want to do is you want it to be, you want the spoon to be resting just above the liquid itself. So when you pour the cream over it, it's just going to come on top of the spoon, on the back of the spoon, and then just like slowly run down. So you just have to slowly pour the cream over the top, because if you do it too quickly, it's going to incorporate into the drink. But when you do it slowly, it just slowly runs down the back of the spoon and covers the entire top of the cocktail itself. It's nice to go back to the classics. The Irish coffee was invented in 1943 at an air base, surprisingly enough. So basically, it was made so that people were, when they were drinking it, it was going to be like warming them up. It was in the winter time, they were cold. A flight actually got delayed if they were flying away, and then they had to come back because the weather was bad. And they landed the plane, and the chef at the restaurant, his last name was Sheridan. He was like, "Oh, what can I do to make these people feel more comfortable and make them feel more at home in this environment right here where they're not at home?" So he started making these Irish coffees, and they kind of took off with popularity. You can still get them at the location that they were invented at. And then in 1952, it got to the United States, and it was brought over by a food writer, and he introduced it to the Buena Vista Hotel, who's very famous for making them in San Francisco. Great here anyways, because the weather is so unpredictable in Boston. Sometimes it's cold in the wintertime, sometimes it's 70 degrees, but it's always a good temperature for an Irish coffee.